The crystal palace of Veltaran gleamed under the twin suns like a jewel made of pure light. Queen Zarathiel stood at the tall windows of her throne room and watched the human ships land in the royal port. Today would change everything for her people. After years of careful planning, the peace talks between her empire and the Human Federation would finally begin. Queen Zarathiel had blue skin that seemed to glow from within. Her silver eyes reflected the morning light as she adjusted her ceremonial robes. The weight of leadership felt heavier today than usual. These talks had to succeed. Too many lives depended on creating lasting peace between their species. Her advisor approached with quiet steps. "Your Majesty, the human delegation has arrived. They request permission to begin security checks of the palace." "Grant them full access," the Queen replied. "We have nothing to hide from our guests." The first human she met was Captain Amy Brooks, the head of diplomatic security. Amy had short brown hair and carried herself with military precision. She spoke clearly about the security arrangements and seemed professional but friendly. Queen Zarathiel found herself impressed by the humans' direct manner of speaking. "We appreciate your cooperation, Your Majesty," Amy said. "My team will work closely with your guards to ensure everyone's safety during the negotiations." "Of course," Queen Zarathiel nodded. "Peace requires trust." As Amy's security team spread throughout the palace, the Queen returned to her final preparations. The main ceremonial hall had been decorated with flowers from both worlds. Translators checked their equipment one last time. Everything had to be perfect. Ambassador Lisa Morgan arrived next with the main diplomatic team. She was an older woman with gray hair and kind eyes who spoke about building bridges between their peoples. The Queen liked her immediately. Lisa had the wisdom that came from years of bringing different groups together. "Your Majesty," Lisa said during their private meeting, "I believe this is the beginning of something wonderful for both our peoples. Humans and Veltarans have much to learn from each other." The opening ceremony was set to begin at noon. Queen Zarathiel took her place on the crystal throne as the great doors opened. The human delegation entered in formal order. First came the diplomats in their dark blue uniforms. Then the security team in their lighter combat gear. The Queen nodded to each group as they passed. She had memorized the names and faces from the files her intelligence team had prepared. Everything proceeded exactly as planned until the security team walked into the hall. Among the guards walked a human woman with auburn hair and bright green eyes. She moved with grace and confidence, her hand resting easily on her weapon. Her name tag read, Lieutenant Maya Collins. The moment Queen Zarathiel saw Maya's face, the world seemed to stop. The resemblance was impossible. Maya looked exactly like Kaylara. The Queen's breath caught in her throat. Her hands gripped the arms of her throne so tightly that her knuckles turned pale blue. Maya had the same delicate features, the same determined expression, even the same way of holding her head slightly tilted when she scanned for threats. Kaylara had been dead for 3 years. The shuttle accident had taken her away forever. Yet here stood a human woman who could have been her twin sister. Maya took her position with the other guards and remained focused on her duties. She showed no sign of recognizing the Queen's shocked stare. To Maya, this was just another diplomatic assignment requiring her protection skills. Ambassador Lisa began her opening speech about cooperation and shared futures. Queen Zarathiel tried to listen, but her attention kept drifting to Maya. Every gesture, every movement reminded her of the woman she had loved and lost. "Your Majesty?" Lisa's voice brought her back to the present. "Would you like to respond to our proposal for cultural exchange programs?" The Queen blinked and forced herself to focus. "Yes, of course. Cultural exchange will help our peoples understand each other better." She managed to deliver her prepared remarks about peace and friendship, but her voice sounded strange even to her own ears. Several of her advisors noticed her distraction and exchanged worried glances. Maya stood perfectly still during the speeches, but her green eyes constantly moved across the room, watching for any sign of danger. She was clearly very good at her job. The Queen found herself wondering what Maya's voice sounded like. what she thought about, what made her laugh. When the formal ceremonies ended, the delegations split into smaller working groups. Queen Zarathiel excused herself and retreated to her private chambers. She needed time to think and process what had just happened. Her personal guard, Commander Jaxel, followed her with concern written across his face. "Your Majesty, are you feeling well? You seemed troubled during the ceremony." "I am fine," she lied, "just thinking about the negotiations ahead." But she was not fine. Seeing Maya had awakened emotions she thought she had buried with Kaylara. The pain of loss mixed with impossible hope created a storm in her heart. She walked to her desk and opened the small crystal box that held Kaylara's holographic image. The three-dimensional picture showed her beloved partner laughing at something outside the frame. They had been so happy together, planning a future that would never come. Now a human woman who looked exactly like Kaylara stood guard in her palace. Queen Zarathiel did not believe in coincidences, especially not ones this impossible. Tomorrow the real negotiations would begin. She would have to sit across from the human delegation and focus on creating peace while Maya Collins stood nearby, looking like a ghost brought back to life. The Queen closed the crystal box and returned to her duties. She had a responsibility to her people that went beyond her personal feelings. But as she prepared for the evening meal with the human guests, she could not stop thinking about green eyes and auburn hair, and what it might mean that the universe had brought Maya Collins to her world. The morning negotiations began in the smaller council chamber. Queen Zarathiel sat at the curved table facing Ambassador Lisa and her team. Maya Collins stood with the other security guards along the wall, alert and professional. The Queen tried to concentrate on the trade agreements being discussed, but Maya's presence kept pulling her attention away. Every time Maya shifted position or turned her head, memories of Kaylara flooded back. She remembered the first time she had met Kaylara at the Science Academy. Kaylara had been presenting her research on energy crystals to the Royal Council. Her passion for discovery had impressed everyone in the room, but it was her laugh that had captured the Queen's heart. "Your Majesty?" Ambassador Lisa's voice interrupted her thoughts. "Do you have any concerns about the mining rights proposal?" Queen Zarathiel forced herself to focus. "Please forgive me. Could you repeat the details about the asteroid belt territories?" Lisa looked puzzled but continued explaining the proposal. The Queen nodded at appropriate moments while part of her mind wandered back to Kaylara. Kaylara had been brilliant and brave. She had volunteered for the most dangerous research missions, always pushing the boundaries of what was possible. Her work on interdimensional energy had promised to revolutionize space travel for both their species. The shuttle accident had happened during one of those research trips. Kaylara had been returning from the outer system with data that could have changed everything. Instead, a navigation error had sent her ship into an asteroid field. The rescue teams had found only wreckage. Maya moved slightly to get a better view of the chamber entrance. The movement was smooth and calculated, exactly like Kaylara used to move when she was thinking through a complex problem. Queen Zarathiel's breath caught again. During the lunch break, the Queen retreated to her study. She activated the holographic memory system and called up more images of Kaylara. The recordings showed them together during happier times, planning expeditions and dreaming about the future. In one recording, Kaylara wore her field uniform and carried a scanner. She was explaining her latest theory about quantum energy patterns. Her green eyes sparkled with excitement as she gestured toward a star chart. "The energy signatures suggest there might be natural portals between dimensions," Kaylara said in the recording. "If we could understand how they work, we could revolutionize transportation." Queen Zarathiel watched the hologram with tears in her silver eyes. Kaylara had been so close to making incredible discoveries. Her death had been a loss not just for the Queen personally, but for all of science. A soft knock on the door interrupted her memories. "Enter," she called, quickly closing the holographic display. Captain Amy Brooks stepped into the study. "Your Majesty, I wanted to discuss the security arrangements for tomorrow's field trip to the crystal mines." "Of course," the Queen said, gesturing to a chair. "Please sit." Amy looked around the elegant study with its crystal shelves and floating light orbs. "This is beautiful. Your people have an amazing gift for working with crystal technology. We learned much of it from a brilliant scientist named Lara, the Queen said before she could stop herself. She was studying how crystals could store and transmit energy across vast distances. That sounds fascinating, Amy replied. Is she part of your current research team? The Queen's expression grew sad. She died 3 years ago in an accident. Her work was never completed. Amy nodded with understanding. I'm sorry for your loss. It's always hard to lose someone who contributed so much. They discussed security details for several minutes. Amy was thorough and professional, asking good questions about potential risks. When she stood to leave, she paused at the door. Your Majesty, I hope you don't mind me asking, but you seem distracted today. Is everything all right with the negotiations? Queen Zarathiel considered how to answer. One of your team members reminds me strongly of someone I knew. It has been somewhat unsettling. If it would help, I could arrange different duty assignments, Amy offered. No, that will not be necessary. I must learn to deal with my own reactions. That evening, the delegations attended a cultural presentation in the main hall. Veltaran musicians played crystalline instruments that created haunting melodies. Humans watched with obvious appreciation for the alien art form. Maya stood at her post near the side entrance, but the Queen noticed her tapping her foot slightly to the rhythm. Lara had loved music too, especially the old ceremonial songs that told stories of their people's history. During intermission, Dr. Elena Rodriguez approached the Queen. Elena was the human scientist studying Veltaran crystal technology. She had kind eyes and spoke with enthusiasm about her research. Your Majesty, I've been analyzing the energy readings from your palace crystals. The patterns are unlike anything we've seen before. Our crystals respond to mental energy, the Queen explained. They can amplify and store psychic impressions. That's remarkable, Elena said. On Earth, we've theorized about consciousness affecting quantum fields, but we've never seen proof. The Queen's attention sharpened. Quantum fields, could you explain what you mean? Elena launched into a detailed explanation of quantum physics and consciousness research. As she spoke, the Queen began to understand that human science might have insights into the phenomena that Lara had been studying. Some of our researchers believe that consciousness leaves quantum signatures, Elena continued. If the right conditions existed, those signatures might persist even after death. The Queen's silver eyes widened. Could there be a scientific explanation for why Maya looked so much like Lara? Could the resemblance be more than just coincidence? Dr. Rodriguez, would you be willing to study our memory crystals? They store psychic impressions from individuals who have bonded with them. I would be honored, Elena said eagerly. This could advance both our people's understanding of consciousness itself. As the cultural presentation resumed, Queen Zarathiel found herself looking at Maya with new eyes. Maybe the universe had not simply played a cruel trick on her heart. Maybe there was something deeper happening, something that connected the worlds of science and emotion in ways she had never imagined. The music swelled to its final crescendo, and Maya turned slightly toward the stage. In profile, her resemblance to Lara was so strong that the Queen had to grip her chair to keep from calling out. Tomorrow she would ask Dr. Rodriguez to begin her studies. Tonight she would try to understand why fate had brought a human woman who looked like her lost love to stand guard in her palace. The answers might change everything she thought she knew about life, death, and the mysterious connections that bound all conscious beings together across the vast darkness of space. The formal dinner was proceeding smoothly when the lights suddenly went out. Queen Zarathiel sat in complete darkness for 3 seconds before the emergency lighting kicked in, casting everything in a red glow. Maya Collins moved faster than anyone else in the room. Before the Queen could even stand up, Maya was beside her chair with her weapon drawn. Her green eyes scanned the shadows while she spoke into her communication device. Security breach in the main dining hall. All units respond immediately, Maya said in a calm, clear voice. Captain Amy Brooks appeared from the other side of the room, leading Ambassador Lisa and the other diplomats toward the secured exit. The Veltaran guards were also moving, but Maya had reacted first and positioned herself perfectly to protect the Queen. Your Majesty, we need to get you to safety, Maya said, offering her hand to help the Queen stand. As their hands touched, Queen Zarathiel felt a strange electric sensation. Maya's touch was warm and firm, just like Kaelara's had been. For a moment, the Queen forgot about the danger and simply stared into Maya's concerned eyes. "Your Majesty?" Maya asked. "Are you injured?" "No, I am fine," the Queen replied, allowing Maya to guide her toward the emergency corridor. Suddenly, armed figures in dark clothing burst through the main entrance. They carried weapons that fired bright energy bolts toward the head table where the Queen had been sitting moments before. Maya pushed Queen Zarathiel behind a marble pillar and returned fire with precise shots. Her movements were fluid and confident, never wasting motion or ammunition. She seemed to know exactly where each attacker would appear before they showed themselves. 6 hostiles, main entrance, Maya reported into her communicator. 2 more, coming through the kitchen access. The Queen watched in amazement as Maya seemed to predict the attackers' movements. She moved and fired with perfect timing, keeping the Queen safe while systematically eliminating the threats. One of the attackers tried to circle around behind their pillar. Maya sensed the movement without looking and spun to fire at exactly the right moment. Her shot stopped the attacker just meters away from the Queen. "How did you know he was there?" Queen Zarathiel asked. "Lucky guess," Maya replied, but her expression suggested it was more than luck. The attack lasted only 5 minutes, but it felt like hours. When the last attacker was down, Maya carefully checked the Queen for injuries while Captain Amy secured the area. "Your Majesty, are you hurt anywhere?" Maya asked, her hands gentle but thorough as she examined the Queen's arms and shoulders. "I am unharmed thanks to you," the Queen said. "Your reactions were extraordinary." Maya looked puzzled. "I just did my job." But Queen Zarathiel knew it was more than that. Maya had moved and fought exactly like Kaelara would have in the same situation. Kaelara had never been a soldier, but she had possessed the same instinctive ability to read situations and respond perfectly. Commander Jaxel arrived with reinforcements and began investigating the attack. The attackers wore no identification, but their weapons and tactics suggested they were Veltaran military rebels opposed to peace with humans. "This was planned carefully," Jaxel reported to the Queen. "They knew exactly when and where to strike. Someone inside our own forces must have helped them," Queen Zarathiel said grimly. As the investigation continued, the Queen requested a private meeting with Maya. They sat in a small conference room while Captain Amy posted guards outside. "Lieutenant Collins, I must thank you again for your quick actions tonight," the Queen began. "Any of my team would have done the same, Your Majesty," Maya replied. "Perhaps, but you moved as if you knew what would happen before it occurred. Have you been briefed about Veltaran combat tactics?" Maya shook her head. "No, Your Majesty. I just trusted my instincts." The Queen studied Maya's face carefully. "May I ask you a personal question? Do you ever have dreams about places you have never been, people you have never met?" Maya looked surprised by the question. "Sometimes, yes. I dream about crystal cities and purple skies. I always assumed they were just random images from my imagination." Queen Zarathiel's silver eyes widened. "What else do you see in these dreams?" "A woman with blue skin and silver eyes," Maya said slowly. "She seems familiar, but I know I have never met anyone like her before coming here." The Queen's breath caught. "What is this woman doing in your dreams?" "We are working together on some kind of research project. She shows me energy patterns that look like flowing light. We seem to understand each other perfectly, even though we never speak the same language." Maya paused and looked directly at the Queen. "Your Majesty, you look very much like the woman in my dreams." Queen Zarathiel felt her heart racing. This was no longer just about physical resemblance. Maya was describing memories that could only belong to Kaelara. "Lieutenant Collins, would you be willing to participate in some scientific tests? Dr. Rodriguez has equipment that might help us understand what is happening." "I'm not sure I understand, Your Majesty." The Queen took a deep breath and made a decision that would change both their lives. 3 years ago, I lost someone very dear to me. Her name was Kay Lara, and she looked exactly like you. She was studying the same energy patterns you described in your dreams. Maya stared at the Queen in shock. That's impossible. Many things that seem impossible prove to be true, the Queen said gently. I believe there is a connection between you and Kay Lara that goes beyond mere chance. What kind of connection? I do not know yet. But tonight you saved my life by moving and fighting exactly as she would have. You described dreams of research she actually conducted. You knew things that you should not have been able to know. Maya was quiet for a long moment, processing this information. You think I'm somehow connected to this woman who died? I think you may carry some part of her consciousness within you, the Queen said. Our crystals store psychic impressions. Perhaps human consciousness works similarly, in ways your science is only beginning to understand. This is a lot to process, Maya said. I know, but if I am right, it could change how both our peoples understand life, death, and the connections between all conscious beings. Maya looked into the Queen's silver eyes and saw hope mixed with pain. What would these tests involve? Dr. Rodriguez would scan your brain patterns while you are near crystals that Kay Lara worked with. If there is a connection, the crystals should respond to your presence. And if they do respond? Queen Zarathiel smiled sadly. Then we will know that death is not the end of consciousness, and that love truly does transcend all boundaries. Maya nodded slowly. All right, Your Majesty, I'll do the tests. As they prepared to leave the conference room, Maya stopped at the door. Your Majesty, in my dreams, the blue-skinned woman always seems happy when she's with me. I hope that means something. The Queen's eyes filled with tears. It means everything, Maya Collins, it means everything. Dr. Elena Rodriguez set up her scanning equipment in Queen Zarathiel's private laboratory. The room was filled with crystal formations that hummed softly with stored energy. Maya Collins sat in the scanning chair, looking nervous but determined. The crystals are responding already, Elena said, checking her instruments. Your brain patterns are creating resonance frequencies that match the stored energy signatures. Queen Zarathiel watched from nearby, holding a small crystal that had been Kay Lara's personal research tool. The crystal began to glow brighter as Maya's presence activated dormant memories within its structure. What does that mean? Maya asked. It means you have a quantum consciousness signature that partially matches someone who spent a lot of time with these crystals, Elena explained. This should be impossible according to everything we know about human neurology. The Queen approached, slowly, carrying Kay Lara's crystal. Maya, would you be willing to touch this? It contains 3 years of Kay Lara's research memories. Maya looked at the glowing crystal with uncertainty. What will happen? I do not know, the Queen admitted. But I believe it will help us understand the connection between you. Maya reached out and placed her hand on the crystal. The moment her fingers made contact, the entire laboratory filled with brilliant light. The crystal's glow expanded outward, creating holographic images that floated in the air around them. Maya gasped as memories that were not her own flooded through her mind. She saw herself working in this same laboratory but with blue skin and silver eyes. She felt the excitement of scientific discovery and the joy of sharing that excitement with Queen Zarathiel. I remember this place, Maya whispered. I remember working here with you, developing the interdimensional energy theories. Queen Zarathiel's eyes filled with tears. Kay Lara, is that really you? I'm Maya, she said, but her voice carried a different inflection. But I remember being Kay Lara too. I remember loving you. Dr. Rodriguez studied her instruments with amazement. The quantum signatures are merging. Maya's consciousness is accessing memories stored in the crystal matrix. Maya stood up, still touching the crystal. She moved through the laboratory with perfect familiarity, going directly to research equipment she had never seen before. The dimensional portal calculations were almost complete, she said, activating a holographic display. If we adjust the frequency modulation here, we can create stable energy bridges between distant points in space. The Queen followed her in wonder. How do you know this? Lara figured it out just before the accident, Maya replied. The knowledge was stored in the crystal, waiting for someone with the right consciousness pattern to access it. Elena was recording everything with excitement. This proves that consciousness can exist independently of specific physical forms. Maya is accessing quantum information stored at the subatomic level. For the next several hours, Maya worked with the research equipment as if she had used it for years. She completed theoretical calculations that had puzzled Veltaran scientists for decades. Her movements were confident and sure, guided by memories that belonged to someone else. The portal technology could revolutionize space travel for both our peoples, Maya explained to the Queen. Ships could cross vast distances instantly instead of taking months or years. Lara always believed this research would bring our species closer together, Queen Zarathiel said softly. Maya turned to look at her, and for a moment, her expression was purely Lara. I still believe that. Even death couldn't stop me from wanting to help our peoples find peace. The emotional intensity became overwhelming. Maya suddenly stumbled and would have fallen if the Queen had not caught her. The crystal's glow faded and Maya's eyes returned to their normal human awareness. What happened? Maya asked weakly. You accessed Lara's stored consciousness, the Queen explained, helping her to a chair. But the process was draining for you. Dr. Rodriguez was studying the data from her scans. Maya's brain patterns showed a complete overlay with the stored quantum signatures. For those hours, she was essentially channeling Lara's consciousness through her own neural pathways. Is that dangerous? Maya asked with concern. I don't think so, Elena replied. But it seems to require enormous mental energy. You'll need to rest and recover. Over the following days, Maya underwent more tests to understand her unique connection to Lara's memories. She learned to access the stored consciousness in smaller amounts, avoiding the complete overlay that had exhausted her. During these sessions, Queen Zarathiel spent many hours talking with Maya about Lara's memories and her own feelings of loss and hope. They walked together through the crystal gardens where she and Lara had shared many private moments. It must be strange for you, Maya said during one of these walks, talking to someone who looks like her and carries her memories but isn't really her. You are both yourself and her, the Queen replied thoughtfully. Your consciousness and hers have become connected in ways we are only beginning to understand. How do you feel about that? Queen Zarathiel stopped walking and turned to face Maya. I feel grateful. Grateful that some part of Lara lives on, and grateful that you are willing to help us complete her work. And personally? Maya asked quietly. How do you feel about me? The Queen looked into Maya's green eyes and saw both the human woman she was coming to know and the beloved partner she had lost. I feel like my heart is learning to love again, but in a completely new way. Meanwhile, the peace negotiations continued with new urgency. The attack during the dinner had been traced to a rebel faction within the Veltaran military. High Counselor Vexani was leading the investigation, but progress was slow. Captain Amy Brooks expressed concerns about the security situation to Queen Zarathiel. Your Majesty, we may need to consider relocating the talks to a more secure facility. No, the Queen said firmly. Moving the negotiations would send the wrong message. We cannot let fear dictate our actions. Then we need better intelligence about who is planning these attacks, Amy replied. That evening, Maya approached the Queen with an idea. Your Majesty, Lara's memories include information about the Crystal Communication Network. If the rebels are using it to coordinate their activities, I might be able to trace their signals. That could be dangerous, the Queen warned. Accessing the network requires deep mental connection with the palace crystals. I'm willing to try, Maya said. Lara died before she could complete her work for peace. Maybe I can finish what she started. Queen Zarathiel looked at Maya with a mixture of admiration and concern. Very well, but I will stay with you during the attempt. As they prepared for Maya to access the crystal network, both women understood that they were crossing another threshold in their unusual relationship. They were no longer just exploring scientific mysteries, but working together to protect the future that Lara had dreamed of creating. The bond between them was growing stronger each day, built on shared purpose, mutual respect, and the amazing connection that linked their hearts across the boundaries of species and even death itself. Maya placed her hands on the main palace crystal and closed her eyes. The crystal network connected every building in the royal complex, carrying both communications and stored memories. Accessing it required complete mental focus and trust in the crystalline matrix. Queen Zarathiel stood beside her, ready to break the connection if anything went wrong. Remember, you are looking for unusual communication patterns or encrypted messages between the rebels. Maya nodded and opened her consciousness to the crystal network. Information flowed through her mind like a rushing river. She saw a routine, messages between guards, administrative communications, and personal notes between palace staff. Then she found something different. Hidden beneath the normal traffic was a series of coded transmissions. The messages were encrypted, but Kaylara's knowledge of crystal technology allowed Maya to decode them. "I found something," Maya said without opening her eyes. "High Counselor, Vexani is sending secret messages to someone outside the palace." Queen Zarathiel's expression hardened. "What do the messages say?" Maya concentrated deeper, translating the coded signals. "He's planning another attack during tomorrow's signing ceremony for the peace treaty. He wants to make it look like the humans betrayed the agreement. That would destroy any chance of lasting peace," the Queen said grimly. "There's more," Maya continued. "He's been working with military commanders who profit from the weapons trade. They want the war to continue because it makes them wealthy. The Queen immediately called for Commander Jaxel and Captain Amy Brooks. When they arrived, Maya shared everything she had discovered through the crystal network. The evidence was clear and undeniable. "We have to arrest Vexani before tomorrow's ceremony," Commander Jaxel said. "Wait," Amy Brooks interrupted. "If we arrest him now, his allies might still carry out the attack. We need to catch all of them together." Queen Zarathiel agreed. "We will let Vexani think his plan is working, then capture the entire conspiracy during the ceremony." The next morning, the final peace treaty signing took place in the Grand Ceremonial Hall. Ambassador Lisa Morgan and Queen Zarathiel sat at the signing table while representatives from both species watched the historic moment. Maya and the other security guards positioned themselves around the hall according to the normal protection plan, but they were also watching for Vexani's allies among the Veltaran guards. As the Queen prepared to sign the treaty, Vexani gave a subtle signal to his conspirators. Several Veltaran guards suddenly turned their weapons toward the human delegation. "Now!" Captain Amy shouted. Maya and the loyal guards moved instantly. They had identified all the traitors beforehand and were ready for their betrayal. The fight was brief but intense, with energy bolts lighting up the ceremonial hall. Maya found herself fighting alongside Commander Jaxel against 3 rebel guards. Her movements were perfect, combining her human training with Kaylara's knowledge of Veltaran combat techniques. Together, they defeated the attackers without harming any of the civilians. High Counselor Vexani tried to escape during the confusion, but Queen Zarathiel blocked his path to the exit. "Your greed has blinded you to the future our peoples could share," she told him. "Humans are inferior beings," Vexani snarled. "We should rule the galaxy, not share it with weaklings." "You are wrong," the Queen replied. "Maya Collins has shown me that consciousness transcends species. We are all connected in ways you cannot understand." With the conspiracy defeated, the peace treaty was signed as planned. Ambassador Lisa and Queen Zarathiel put their names to the document that would end centuries of mistrust and conflict. "This is the beginning of a new age," Lisa said during her speech. "Humans and Veltarans will explore the galaxy together as partners and friends." Dr. Elena Rodriguez presented her findings about consciousness and quantum connections to both governments. Her research, combined with Maya's experiences, provided scientific proof that awareness could exist beyond individual physical forms. "The implications are staggering," Elena explained. "If consciousness can transcend death and species barriers, we may need to completely revise our understanding of what it means to be alive." Maya stood with the security team during the presentations, but her mind was on the choice she had to make. Her assignment on Veltaran was officially complete. Captain Amy had orders to return to Earth with the diplomatic mission. That evening, Queen Zarathiel found Maya walking alone in the crystal gardens. The twin moons cast purple light through the translucent formations, creating patterns of beauty that seemed to dance in the air. "You are troubled," the Queen observed. "Captain Brooks expects me to return to Earth with the team," Maya said, "but I feel like my work here isn't finished." "What does your heart tell you?" Maya stopped walking and turned to face the Queen. "My heart tells me that I belong here with you, not as Kaylara, but as myself, Maya Collins, who happens to carry the memories of someone you loved." Queen Zarathiel stepped closer. "And what do I feel? I love the memory of Kaylara, but I am learning to love Maya Collins for who she is. You are brave, intelligent, and dedicated to protecting others. Those are your own qualities, not borrowed from anyone else." "So where does that leave us?" Maya asked. "It leaves us with a choice. You could return to Earth and resume your military career, or you could stay here and help me build the future that Kaylara dreamed of." Maya looked around the crystal garden, feeling the stored memories and emotions that filled the air. This place had become home in ways she had never expected. "I want to stay," she said finally. "Not because of Kaylara's memories, but because I believe in what we're building together." 6 months later, Maya Collins held the title of Special Liaison for Human-Veltaran Relations. She had learned to speak the Veltaran language and understood their customs. Her unique connection to Kaylara's knowledge made her invaluable in completing the dimensional portal research. The first test of the portal technology was scheduled for today. Maya and Queen Zarathiel stood in the laboratory where they had first discovered their amazing connection. "Are you ready?" the Queen asked, activating the portal controls. "As ready as anyone can be for making history," Maya replied with a smile. The portal opened with a shimmer of light, creating a stable bridge between Veltaran and a research station near Earth. The successful test proved that Kaylara's theories had been correct. Space travel would never be the same. "She would be proud," Queen Zarathiel said softly. "We both would," Maya corrected. "Kaylara's consciousness may be part of me, but this achievement belongs to all of us working together." As they watched ships from both worlds pass through the dimensional portal, Maya reflected on the strange journey that had brought her to this moment. She had arrived as a simple security guard and discovered that she carried the memories of a brilliant scientist who had died for peace. Now she stood beside an alien queen who had become the most important person in her life. Their love was built on shared purpose, mutual respect, and the understanding that consciousness could transcend any boundary. The future stretched ahead of them, full of possibilities that neither humans nor Veltarans had imagined before. Maya Collins and Queen Zarathiel would explore that future together, guided by the knowledge that love truly was the force that connected all living beings across the vast darkness of space. And somewhere in the quantum fields that linked all consciousness, Kaylara's spirit smiled with satisfaction, knowing that her sacrifice had helped create the peace she had always believed was possible.